Merci.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished members of the Security Council, this year that has elapsed, during this year, each month, and a number of times you have invited me to brief your assembly, and for this frequency, I thank you. Your interest has risen to the stakes in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Most fortunately, today's statement that I will deliver will be delivered in a context that is far more tranquil than was the case last December and January. The transition of power, the handover of power in the wake of elections was the first in recent history of the DRC, and this occurred in a peaceful way. I will not bypass the fact that the results of the vote were disputed by a share of the opposition. However, we can also affirm that most of the Congolese citizens were pleased to welcome the taking of the oath of office by the President Tshisekedi. I wish to stress that the electoral process remains underway, with elections scheduled to be held, gubernatorial elections, and there will be delayed elections to be held in 4 circumscriptions. This was due to insecurity in the Ebola epidemic. This is a decisive step to establish democracy and rule of law in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. However, the reactions of certain political parties and their supporters in the light of the outcomes of the senatorial elections held last week are a concern to us. They reveal the fragility of the political process which is underway in the DRC. Mr. President, during the initial public statements, the head of state adopted a commitment to work, to build peace, to build rule of law, and to build democracy, as well as to ensure protection and promotion of human rights. These statements of intent were followed up by tangible action specifically in allaying tensions. Certain political prisoners and prisoners of opinion were released. Meetings were held throughout the country with oppositions and candidates for the presidential election with Martin Fayulu. These were held without obstructions, and announcements were delivered in favor of the return of political exiles. It is important to continue along this path by keeping a space open for expression for the opposition. To them, we would encourage that they work closely with all political parties, with the Congolese authorities, and with civil society. Discussions for the establishment of a new government are currently underway between the Common Front for the Congo, which secured the majority of legislative seats at the national level and provincial level, and the CAP Platform for Change. They supported the candidature of Mr. Tshisekedi. The 2 parties reached agreement last week on the recent establishment of an individual, a trainer, who will be the future Prime Minister of the Republic. We cherish the hope that the new government will shortly be established and will be operational, and thereby will be able to operate on the basis of the guidelines under Tshisekedi's program. Indeed, the expectations of the Congolese people are tremendous. It is of critical importance not to leave them to wait too long, nor to dash their hopes. These expectations for a better life have been materialized with better access to health care, education, and employment. And it is important to ensure that they be shielded from fear and threats. This is a tremendous challenge faced by the current authorities. I can assure you, Mr. President, of the fact that I continue to remain wedded to the good office's mission to which you conferred, to ensure that there be a smooth political transition and to advance the peace and security agenda in the DRC. Presently, there are real opportunities to build peace and security in a number of provinces in the country. This in the wake of the voluntary surrender of hundreds of members of armed groups or those who have desired to do so as the presidential transition unfolded. The current challenges include being able to tackle these opportunities by promptly pinpointing opportunities for reintegration of these ex-combatants into their communities. This is no easy task. However, it is urgent to work hand in hand here on the ground and in the capital in order to extend qualitative support for the Congolese authorities. We have noted other positive indicators in this area. There has been a reaffirmed willingness of the regional actors at the state level and organizational level, a willingness to tackle the root causes of the conflict plaguing the DRC and thereby to end these difficulties. This is what we hope. Mr. President.
Rising to achieve lasting peace and security in the country today, I remain concerned about several developments in the eastern DRC. In North Kivu's Grand Nord region, where the now second largest Ebola outbreak in history is ongoing, ADF and Mai elements continue to attack civilians and FRDC alike, and in several cases humanitarian workers and MONUSCO personnel. MONUSCO's force, including the intervention brigade and the mission's police component, are sparing no effort to protect civilians and to support the FRDC and the PNC in the provision of security, while our civilian teams are actively pursuing good officers, advocacy, and dialogue initiatives at the local level. Following recent attacks against Ebola response centers in Butembo and Katwa, MONUSCO redeployed additional uniformed and civilian personnel to support the security of Ebola response staff and operations and efforts to address community resistance to the response. Meanwhile, preparations are ongoing in the area for upcoming national and provincial elections at the end of this month. We will be doing our utmost to prevent and mitigate any risk of violence throughout this potentially sensitive period. In Minembwe, South Kivu, clashes have flared up between the militias of two communities, resulting in significant displacements of the population with the potential of further deterioration. MONUSCO is supporting the reinforcement of the FRDC's presence in the area, in addition to our own standing combat deployment and our intercommunal mediation efforts. In these hotspots, the government has shown a genuine willingness to respond quickly, although the capacity of national security forces must be further enhanced. However, in North and South Kivu, structural violence is profoundly entrenched and conflict dynamics related to identity, access to land and resources, and regional issues have taken deep root in the fabric of everyday life. To sustainably address these drivers of insecurity, concentrated engagement will be needed in the period ahead, including with the region. Even areas not historically affected by armed conflict can prove fragile, and we must collectively encourage the government to take measures to preventively address and mitigate potential causes of violent conflict countrywide. the shocking violence in Yumbi in December 2018, which left, at least documented by our office, 535 dead, 111 wounded, 19,000 displaced, and many homes and livelihood destroyed, is a troubling reminder of how quickly violence can escalate. Mr. President, in light of the opportunities, but also the challenges which exist in the Democratic Republic of the Congo at this time, I encourage the Security Council to continue to support the consolidation of that which has been achieved in the country in recent months, and to support the country in addressing the threats to peace and security which remain. We must support the government in its efforts to honor the expectation of the Congolese population, to advance political dialogue and collaboration, and to seize the opportunities which we are now seeing for a sustainable reduction of armed groups in some areas. Je vous remercie.
I thank you.